guys, so I actually want to talk about tomatoes, specifically the ones I grew this year, and kind of give a review on how I thought they did up here in northwest Montana. So I'm going to tilt you down so you can get a view of my table. Okay, so now that I got you moved over to the tomatoes, and I grabbed a cutting board and cut a couple so we can look them over. So first up is the tomato from MIgardener. This is where I got mine from. And if you're anything like me, I honestly don't like tomatoes. I grew up saying that they were going to give me cancer and I was allergic to them because I really just don't like how tomatoes taste. So if you're like me and you're not a big fan of tomatoes, but you're looking for something that you can actually stand to eat, I highly suggest the tomato because it is a super sweet tomato. So let me get you a close-up of this wonderful tomato. Okay, so here is the tomato. Looking gorgeous, and it is a pretty large cherry tomato for me this year. And I've got one cut open here. So got a lot of gel, super juicy, and is just an awesomely sweet tomato. And again, large for a cherry tomato. Okay, I'm not actually sure that that's a cherry tomato. I'll have to go online and verify that. So I'll put down here if the tomato is indeed a cherry tomato. Next up is the Plaka, which is another seed I got from MIgardener. However, I shared seed packets with my mom and sent the originals with her. So these are ones I made. So pardon the seed packet, but these are not what they packaged them in MIgardener. So the Plaka tomato is a really awesome tomato. It's a paste tomato. You know, it grows up looking like a pepper, more or less. Just this awesome oblong, all different shapes, sizes, just crazy, crazy. And on the inside, you've got this very little gel, and it looks a lot like a bell pepper, but is indeed an Plaka tomato. Isn't that just the coolest thing ever? I just thought that was super awesome, and it looks amazing. You know, unfortunately, since I don't like tomatoes, I don't particularly like paste tomatoes because they're super tomatoey. Black Seamen from MIgardener as well. This tomato, when I grew it in the greenhouse, because up here you have to start everything in the greenhouse, especially tomatoes. When I grew it in the greenhouse, the leaves were doing upright curl, and I didn't mess with it since it was a little baby tomato. And honestly, it did upright curl well into summer. So it was the first to bear fruit though. And large tomatoes. This is one of my last black Seamens because I have honestly given away or eaten the rest of them. Oh. Now this one, I'm actually not going to cut open, but I do have pictures of the first one I cut open for you because I'm not going to eat them yet, so no need to waste him. These ones I'll use immediately. And I don't want them to go bad. But they're not really a black tomato, as you can see, but they do get a little dark, a little orange, and super susceptible to splitting. So we get a lot of rain up here in northwest Montana. And I don't think the black Seamens are particularly good to grow in the open ground like I do. So if you have a greenhouse or some type of overhead structure that you can put over your tomatoes, these would do swimmingly well for you. Again, if they leaf curl, I wouldn't worry about it. I ignored my leaf curl on them and they did just fine. So that's it for the MIgardener tomatoes. The rest I got from Baker Creek. So first off, I will just do these three in one go. We have the blueberry, the blue cream, and the blue gold. So I grew a bunch of these. They all did very well in the greenhouse. When I went to transplant them, they turned purple and got stunted, but they ended up bouncing back just fine. They are now at the top of the trellis, and they are bearing very gorgeous purple fruits. The ones I currently have in the garden are the blue golds. There are no surviving blue creams. They unfortunately were not selected when they turned purple and got sickly. You know, I only selected the best to go into the ground because I wasn't, you know, it's cutthroat in my garden. So none of the blue creams were selected to go into the garden, and I have none of them. I will try again next year though. I do have a blue berry. However, it is not in my garden. I did give this plant away, and they are successfully harvesting this tomato. It did bounce back and grow. So I do know that they are quite a bit smaller than my blue creams, and I believe that is because of how they're growing them. But besides the point, grew nonetheless despite the stress that I put it through in the beginning of the year, which is pretty awesome. So if you have a short attention span or a really harsh seasonal zone, then these are probably good tomatoes for you, because they did get super stressed and they did stunt, but they bounced back just fine. So on to the ones I do actually have, which are the blue golds. And you can see one right here in my bowl, and I'm going to try and grab it without breaking it. So here is my blue gold from Baker Creek, one of my minis. I've gotten quite a few of these off of my tomato plant, and these things are so sweet. And they're really awesome to grow. So when they start, they're a matte, fuzzy little green tomato, and I'll see if I have pictures to insert. And I just thought they were the cutest things ever because they were just so fuzzy. And then when they grow, they turn solid purple. They are like this all the way around it. They get dark. And just this insane purple. But when they ripen, they start to flush with their color. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And these things are super sweet and really, really juicy. And I will, so I will cut one for you. And I will probably eat it right now because they are so good. I've got juice running down my hand. Focus. Okay. So here is the inside of the blue gold berries. And they are just insane. Look at how cute that is. It's like a little grape. I quite like them. And I don't think I'm being biased because I worked so hard to grow them. And I'm just eating them because I grew them. My husband actually likes a lot of these too. I will let you know if my husband doesn't like a tomato, because he loves tomatoes. So I will let you know if he doesn't like one of these, because that means that it's gross. And you can't take my word if I say it's gross, because I don't like tomatoes. But yeah, the blue gold is very, very good. All right, and the next one up is also from Baker Creek. However, it was a free seed that I decided to grow. And that is, I have no idea how to pronounce this, and I keep calling it the black Verna Sage, but I know that's wrong. It's Verna Sage. So the black, however you say that, I will let you all argue that to your heart's content on your own. But these Verna whatever, these tomatoes were actually quite the surprise. I grew them because they gave them to me, and I was like, hell, why not? And when I saw them growing nice and green and variegated, I jumped for joy because they were just the cutest freaking things ever. And then when they come to full fruit, they get dark with red and green. It is just insane how these change. I mean, my camera is going to drive me up the wall. Okay. So they were just insane variegated. This one's so dark you can barely even see the variegation. I've got some less ripe ones here. Look at all that wonderful variegation. Oh, they're just so cute. And again, they're a large 2-ounce tomato. Yep, so they are a black, quote unquote, because they're variegated, 2-ounce tomato. So I thought those were just the coolest things. And then when I got to eat one, oh My goodness, these things are by far my favorite tomato ever. Just are insanely delicious, and I will never not grow this tomato now. And for it to be a free seed packet, not even one I saw out, is just awesome. And don't mind my knife, it is ridiculously dull right now. So on the inside you've got this dark red flesh gel, almost like a black mixed with the green. Oh my goodness, it is so good. So good. And just a gorgeous tomato all around. And it grew really well. I mean, the amount of fruit on it was just insane. Mine I grew outdoors, and I have a family member that I gave a seedling to, and they grew theirs inside a tent-like object. I won't say greenhouse because that would be completely inaccurate. They grew them in a tent-like object, and theirs ripen faster but are way smaller and not as sweet, so bear that in mind. Now for the tomatoes that I purchased from the nurseries. There's not many of them, and I don't think I have one type. This is the chocolate cherry tomato, and I just bought it to fill in some holes. It looked fun and interesting, and oh my goodness, it is so good. It is crazy how good it is. Let me cut it open for you. Unfortunately, I don't know what it's like to grow it from seed because I didn't this year, but I plan on it next year. I am saving seeds for it. Oh my goodness, and I just squished out like all of its juices. Alright, here it is. This is the chocolate cherry tomato, oozing juice all down my hand because it is just a really juicy, very pulpy, gorgeous, and it's got like a really decent amount of actual meat in it as opposed to the juice and the pulp before the center. So it is just it is a really good tomato. I can't say otherwise. Okay, so now finally a tomato I actually can't stand. This is the Sungold tomato, and I had 2 of these plants because they're held in such high standard. I can't stand them, and apparently this is like everybody's go-to favorite tomato, but I just think they're absolutely disgusting. But my husband loves them. He says they're very tropical and they're sweet, but I find them gross, and I regret having to cut this thing open because that means I'm going to have to eat it, but it is what it is. And I can tell he's very squishy right now, so he's probably going to ooze juices all over the place. Oh yeah. Here is the inside of the Sungold. Super juicy, not a whole lot of meat, but a lot of pulp. So it has a lot of flavor, which might be why I don't particularly care for it so much, is because it's super flavorful. But to each their own. Again, my husband likes tomatoes and he loves this tomato, so take that information as you will. That one does not handle the frost up here very well. It doesn't handle the cold. It didn't handle the heat. It didn't handle the amount of rain. So that one I probably, well, I'll grow for my husband, but it's not a very good zone 5 tomato in my personal opinion. Again, this is all my personal opinion. So up next are the sweet and the super sweet 100. I don't know which one is which because they are pretty much identical. I can tell you where they are in my garden because they are separate, but again, don't know which is which. So I hate these tomatoes. I think they're utterly disgusting, and again, my husband likes them, and he said that the only reason why he likes them is if they're super red. They have to be so ripe, it's not even funny. So this one here is about how ripe he would like it. This one's a little underripe. He says, you know, as close to fire engine red as you can get it, then they taste good. But when they do get that red, he says they're really good. And I'm only going to cut one open because I can't stand these things, so I don't want to have to eat more than necessary. Alright, so this is the inside of either a sweet or a super sweet 100. Again, don't know which, but a small, potent cherry tomato that I honestly don't like. These ones did not grow very well. One of them I did accidentally prematurely top off. But when they did grow, they grew super long tendrils, and it was kind of fun to watch them ripen because the innermost two would turn red, and then the rest would kind of turn yellow. So it was this fading from red to green color scheme on these really long tendrils. So it was kind of a cool plant to grow, but the tomatoes were not in my forte. So up next is a Roma tomato. This is La Roma 3. I've never grown a Roma tomato before, so I thought it was pretty interesting. And again, pretty classic Roma-y shape and feel to it. This one's not doing so hot. The plant, again, I accidentally prematurely chopped off when I was pruning them. It happens. I go through it so fast that I don't really pay enough attention like I should be, so it happens to me more often than most, but when you're growing 16 different types of tomatoes, it's probably a good thing that I top them off. Also, this was a determinate and I didn't realize that, but is what it is. Let's cut them open. So this is what you would expect from a paste tomato. I mean, look at the inside of that. Super meaty. Very little gel enough to turn it, you know, pasty. I would like to use this on a sandwich, to be honest, because they're so easy to cut. They don't crumble and fall apart. They're really pretty tomatoes. I'll give them that much. Here we have one of those Plakas that's not quite ripe yet, just to kind of give you an idea of what an unripe one looks like when it's starting to blush. But look at how amazing that is. Such a weird tomato, and I mean, it takes up my whole hand. I'm a small person, but it takes up my whole hand. Isn't that just insane? Okay, so I am now going to eat my tomatoes, because I know there's going to be people out there that, like, if you hate tomatoes, you're not going to eat them. Blah, 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 blah. So now I'm going to eat the tomatoes that I cut open to show you, minus the big paste guys, because I'll take a bite out of them, but it's all you're getting out of me. Again, we had a great year with tomatoes. We had tomatoes falling out our ears. We actually gave a whole bunch of them away because our whole counter over here was just full of them. So this is getting down to the end of it, assuming that I can't save them through this little frost snap that we're having, which I think I will. But here's to tomato season. Oh my goodness. Gosh, that is so good. And so juicy. Oh man. If tomatoes tasted like this when I was growing up, I probably wouldn't hate them. And yes, I'm going for the ones I like first. Well, I should probably intermix them. That was the chocolate cherry. This is one of the Sungolds. Yeah. God, that's gross. Oh, man. Oh, that is really gross. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like a tomatoey pineapple, and I think those are two things that should not mix. God, that was gross. Okay, I need something that tastes good. Blue cream. So much better. Not as good as the chocolate cherries, though. Not as good at all. Okay. Now something gross. Sweet or super sweet 100. Yeah. I can still kind of taste that other one. Okay. I almost spit it out. Like knee-jerk reaction to almost spit it out. Man, those things are gross. I don't like them. My husband loves them, so take that as you will. Let's go for the black, whatever it is, the black variegated Verna Sage. Oh man, these are so good. Really juicy. And so big. I'm gonna be sick of tomatoes after I take this video. Oh man. So good. I'll finish that later. The tomato, not to be confused with tomato. This one's not really ripe, so I might have screwed myself over. Nope. Still really sweet. Oh man. It is good. Okay. I'm going to cut off parts of these paste tomatoes. Let's go with the Plaka first. Which is unfair rating of these. I understand that because I know that they are paste tomatoes, so they will probably taste better when they're in an element they're meant for, which would be a paste. But tomatoes. I'm not gonna puke, I promise. But man, that was very tomatoey. I'm gonna grab my water. I'm not puking. You can hear me. I'll keep talking to you, so believe me. That way they can be like, oh man, that tomato's so gross, she puked it up. I really didn't puke. I literally just grabbing my water. Because I need to wash that taste from my mouth. Sooner rather than later. Ugh. Oh my goodness. I'm doing this so you believe me, and I can prove to you that I do or do not like a tomato. I would record my husband eating them since he actually likes tomatoes, but he would think that they're all good, and you wouldn't get very much information out of them. Oh god, that's gross. Oh. All right. This is the Roma 3. It's not as bad as the Plaka, to be honest. It actually doesn't taste like much. Still not very good though. Okay. Now that I am done torturing myself, that is the types of tomatoes that I grew this year and my kind of thoughts on them as a person who does not like tomatoes. So if you're growing tomatoes and you have someone in your family that also does not like tomatoes, you kind of maybe get some that, or you can kind of maybe grow some that they may like a little better. I know everybody's tastes are different, and this is just my opinion. But I feel that maybe sometimes your opinion can help others. So yeah, anywho, go watch the other gardening videos if you've got a chance, and if I have them up, because I don't know what'll come first, my tomatoes or my gardening in general. But plan on seeing more of these, because I really do enjoy gardening, and I think that it is something that what information I hold should be shared with the world, because it could benefit somebody else. So yeah, thanks for watching, and Till next time. Bye.